Hi, it's David from Life with Parkinson. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you'll consider subscribing. For everybody else, thank you for coming back and watching another episode. The last couple of years, I've noticed that traveling with Parkinson's is getting a little harder. Like this summer, we had a few forest fires and we didn't get evacuated. We voluntarily evacuated just because when we saw the plume of smoke coming our way, it was like, that's big and we should get out. Then I started going over other times where I've traveled the last couple of years, and I'm like, there's some things I've really started to notice that I wish I had known in the beginning. And that's what kind of spawned this video in my mind. It was just the different situations I've been through and how I've noticed my Parkinson's playing out. Yeah, I haven't included like international travel, airports, crossing the border, just because I haven't done those situations. And also when I started looking around for different articles on travel and Parkinson's, like the Parkinson's Foundations, like all of them do really well. And I've included a couple links in the description below for a couple examples of what I felt were really good travel articles. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you like what you're seeing, please hit the like button. That is a great way for this content to spread to others who are looking for it. Thank you. What I've really noticed about Parkinson's is it loves repetition, repetition, repetition. Like if I do the same things every day, like I can kind of, not all the way, but I can kind of get on top of my symptoms and track and predict them fairly well. But if I'm in different surroundings, then the repetition is gone. And the Parkinson's is just like, oh, we're going to like shake you up and make you do things you don't really want to do today. Ha 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 ha. And I'm like, no, Parkinson's, no, don't do that. I'm going to get repetition. And the Parkinson's is, ha 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 ha. You're stuck and frozen. You can't do anything. Well, that's not how it really is, but in the back of my mind, sometimes that's how it feels. So when we voluntarily evacuated, we went to my in-laws, and I'd stayed there many times. And the last time I stayed there was like almost 2 years while we were waiting for our present home to finish up its rental contract. So it's somewhere I know really well. But when we voluntarily evacuated, I went into a different bed. I didn't have my comfort linen travel sheet with me because I had left it at my friend Trevor's house. I hadn't been using the bathroom upstairs for a long time, where when Haley and I stayed there, we generally used the bathroom upstairs. And I found it very difficult to navigate. Like the first morning we were there, I woke up and I wasn't feeling really well. I hadn't slept well, largely because I didn't have my comfort linen. And I had to go pee really bad, but my leg lock was locked tight and I could not walk, and my arm came up in a question. And when I get that dystonia symptom, I can't even crawl. I couldn't even use the neck stride to help me across. So I laid back down. I'm like, please don't pee the bed. Please don't pee the bed. And thankfully, my wife came to check on me after a little while, and she was able to wiggle a chair in there, and I was finally able to go pee. But that was just a really bad morning. Like it took my pills like an hour and a half to kick in, and it was really frustrating. So I find changing surroundings really, really difficult because at home, I know all my tips and tricks. I know where I'm going to get stuck. I know how I'm going to get stuck, and I can avoid those bad situations. But in a new set of surroundings and in a new bathroom, I was just lost. So next time I'm in a different surrounding, I need to plan ahead a little bit and figure out how I'm going to deal with added stress, extended off times, and I need to bring my comfort linen travel sheet with me. The second thing I wish I knew long ago was how to deal with changing meal times, how to adjust medication times to match up with those meal times, and then handling a sudden diet change. Now, this is very similar to point number one because my digestive system, when I can like feed it the foods I know that's going to create the best results for me and get all the stuff moving through my body in a decent amount of time, so my medications don't get lost and blocked by food. But when you're suddenly put in a new situation with a new set of food that you're not used to, and new meal times, which would cause me to like change my medication times a little bit, everything can get thrown off. Like, it's just like, what was I thinking? Why didn't I stop at the grocery store and pick up some food on the way? Like, it's just like everything just comes to a standstill. And I really noticed this when I was involved in filming the hunting episode, because someone else brought all the food and it was quite different than I was used to. And I found that immediately I got plugged up for 3 days. And then I'm like, okay, I got to do something. And then I realized, hey, I wasn't drinking enough water. So I poured down like liters and liters of water, and I was finally able to go, and I started to feel better. But I need to think about that when I go somewhere new. What am I going to eat? And if I start playing around with my medication times, my body really notices quickly. Like, I can only change them like maybe 15 minutes, maximum half an hour in a day. Like, I can only slide them so much at one time, because then my brain just goes, what are you doing? Where is my imitation dopamine? For me, myself, I got to be really careful about what I do, what I eat, and I've got to make sure that I'm staying on a good diet, follow my meal plan, and then everything, all the stuff travels through my body at the correct speed, and then my medications don't get blocked. It's really a juggling act. Okay, and the last thing I wish I had known in the beginning when I got Parkinson's is traveling when you're off, especially when you should be sleeping. Like, when you say go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, it's like, okay, I'm going to wake up and see you next morning. But I really noticed this last year when we traveled for my son's funeral. It was like a 12 to 14 hour trip there and like a 10 to 12 hour trip back. So on the way there, we got up at like 4 in the morning. I don't know how I made it into the car. Between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. 7 a.m. was my first medication time. I sat in the car for like 3 hours, and I'm like, I should really give myself some rescue medication. But I'm like, okay, if I do that, I really know it's going to screw up the rest of my day, because I know the side effects of the rescue medication are going to be brutal later on, especially if I end up taking too many doses through the day. So yeah, I made the first 3 hours. I took my pills like 10 minutes early because I'm like, okay, I really can't wait any longer. But they never kicked in. They never really kicked in. I don't know if that was the anxiety. I don't know if that's because I sat in the exact same position for like 6 hours, or it was just a freak out accident because nothing was working right. So when we got to the ferry, I took a shot, and that even took a half an hour to start working. So traveling when I'm off, I found it can be very hard on my body, and I need to find a better way to deal with it in the future, especially if I go on another one of those crazy road trips. Other things I totally missed in a blur was like making sure there was a wheelchair on the ferry if I needed it. I never even considered that I would need a wheelchair, and what kind of accommodations could be made and what kind of travel aids could be made available. At that time, I didn't have the NextStride, so getting a mobility device out to help me was not an option. All I really had was my rescue medication, which was good at the time. It's just that with this sitting in the car for like 6 hours, the added stress of the situation, I can only imagine what it would be like to board a plane at this stage in my Parkinson's career and like to fly to a different country. It would have, if there's people out there doing it and they're struggling to do it, I would be really interested in hearing from you in the comments below. And all I can say is like, good job, way to go, way to make it. I'm very hesitant to take a trip like that. So these are the things I wish I'd known before when I've been traveling the last year or two, because I find that they're a constant impact on my life. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments below what you've noticed traveling lately. And if you are traveling internationally and crossing borders and taking airplanes, please let me know how you deal with it. I'm sure others would like to read that comment as well. Now, of course, always thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting this channel. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your lives. I really appreciate it. I really look forward to speaking to each of you every week. And let's take this journey together. I will see you on the next one. Have a good day. Goodbye.